everybody, welcome back to another episode of Vlogmas. Today I'm showing you my chicken, ham, leek and mushroom pie. Mushrooms are optional. Let's not forget that. Let's not cut out 50% of the population who do not like mushrooms. And the reason I'm showing you this is because I showed a clip of this pie in a previous vlog and I got a ton of comments being like, please can we have the recipe? Can I have the method? So I thought I'd do a whole other video on just this pie since it is quite wintry, and I thought it'd be a nice addition to the Vlogmas content to include some cooking. Let's make this pie. It's super quick. It's a cheats recipe since we're not making our own pastry at all. That would just take far too long, and also it wouldn't taste as good, let's be honest, unless you're really good at making pastry. So let's crack straight on. I'm aware that this is not my best day in terms of looks. I am really tired. I've had a very long day, but I want to make this video. So for this recipe, you'll need some chicken thighs. I got boneless and skinless because it just makes it easier when I cut them up. 2 leeks, or you can put in 3 if you fancy it. Some ham. I tried to go for chunky ham and I've got 2 packets of that. Or if you have any like leftover gammon at home from Christmas, that's always great. You can just chop that up. Mushrooms are optional. I'm choosing to use them up. Creme fraiche. You can also use double cream for this, but make sure you have some flour if you're gonna do that because you might need to like thicken it up. Some mustard, I'm using Dijon, and then some puff pastry. If you've watched the last video where I used this, you'll notice that I actually used Aldi brand of pastry because I just think it's the best. But this time they were sold out, so I went to Sainsbury's and got the branded one. Okay, as well as the ingredients I just said, I forgot that you will also need an onion and a chicken stock cube. I seem to be the queen of always forgetting to put stock cubes in my food, so remember your stock cube. Okay, step 1 is to cut up the chicken thighs into pieces. I've got gloves on because I really don't like touching raw meat with my hands. And we want to get a big frying pan like this to cook our chicken in. So I will cut this up and we can speed ahead. One thing I will say is that this is the first time in a while that I've bought my meat from the supermarket, and I chose to go for the organic and free-range chicken, but I really noticed the difference compared to the meat from the butcher that we've been buying sort of since the start of lockdown. Really, we started buying meat from the butcher instead of the supermarket just to see if we could taste the difference, and when I'm cooking with it, it feels so much more different and it's so tender and soft. And as I cut this meat from the supermarket, I can really tell. Okay, because there's already fat on chicken thighs, I'm not going to be using any oil in the pan at all. The chicken's just going to cook in its own fat. Sorry, I'm just having a mind blank about my own recipe, about whether I would put the onion in now or later. Can't remember. I make this like 4 times a month. Let's just go no onion. Chicken's going to fry off. To chop up the leeks while the chicken's cooking. It doesn't need to be neat or anything like that. It can just be quite rough. I'm not very good at chopping things perfectly. So, also I don't have very good knives. This is what I'm using, which someone actually told me they were offended by. So I thought was hilarious. Cut the mushrooms. Yeah, we don't need the onion. Forget I said the onion, forget it. Forget it. So we want to get a bit of colour on the chicken before we add like the mushrooms and the leeks. And obviously before we add the creme fraiche. All of it is going to go in the oven, so it's going to cook anyway, but it's just nice if you get a bit of colour on the chicken first. That's what I like anyway. Okay, I'm going to add my veggies to the pan. I'm going to add the mushrooms first, let them soften a little bit, and then I'll add the leeks. At this point, I have actually noticed that not a lot of fat has come off the chicken thighs. These are the ones I bought from the supermarket. So I am actually going to add a little bit of olive oil, extra virgin. Haven't got much left. Just because mushrooms can take it. They can take it. Salt and pepper. So this is the size of the dish that I'm thinking to use. I used this last time and it was a good size. I have got one that's a little bit smaller, but from experience, when I roll out this pastry, well, not roll it, unravel it. It kind of fits this size really well. Mushrooms are doing good. I'm gonna add my leeks now and let them soften. As you can see, this chopping board is quite heavy. Stock cube, I'm gonna dissolve it in a little bit of hot water just because I find that these ones don't really dissolve very well unless there's liquid, and I'm not putting the cream in until we take the heat off. So I'm gonna dissolve that. That is a boiling hot tap, by the way. It's not just warm water, in case you're thinking that's not gonna dissolve, Leah. So I'm gonna turn the heat up a little bit on this as well. And I think the bigger the pan, the better. Mine just only about fits all of this mixture in, really. Could do with a bigger one. But this will make about 4 portions, so I'd say a serving today and then a serving tomorrow for me and Atch. Right, let's crush this up. Keep trying to think about my posture today because my neck hurts from like being like that on my computer screen. My posture's just messed up. I've been doing yoga every morning to try and open out the upper back. You know what it's like, Googling all the products to see if anything's going to improve my posture, but I think you just got to stretch and try and actively not slouch. That stock cube's looking a bit better. I'm gonna pour that in. That was really bad. That was not meant to happen. This was all going so well and so professionally. And now I've got stock cube all over Will Smith and my jeans.
Don't ever do that again.
Let's put an apron on. Oh, Leah, 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 Leah. Sort your life out, Leah. Right, let that soften. I've still got the ham that needs to go in. Let us add the mustard. This gives it a nice kick. It's about that much mustard on a spoon. Dollop that in, maybe a little bit more actually. I feel like since having COVID, 100% of my taste is not back, but I've got the majority of it back. It's just that I could do with a bit more of it. So I wouldn't say no to extra mustard. Can you do me a favour, please?
Yes, no problem.
Can you switch?
Anything for you.
Can you switch off the camera? Like, can you switch this shot off and then switch it back on? Thank you, Atch.
Thank you.
I mean, what would be amazing is if you could do handheld, but I can't afford a cameraman these days.
I'll do handheld in a second. Yep.
Right, let me show you a little shot of what this is looking like. So now we've got the stock, the mustard, the leeks, the mushroom, the chicken. We haven't yet got the creme fraiche or the ham, just because this is already cooked, so I kind of add it towards the end. With the ham, sometimes I just sort of pick apart the pieces a little bit because it is very thick. I just took this top out of a whitewash. Housewife problems. All I do is cook and clean. So now we're just going to stir in the ham that I've just torn up. Okay, now what we're going to do, guys, is take it off the heat. So I've just switched the heat off, and I'm going to add the creme fraiche. In here there is 300 mils. I would probably just guesstimate at about 200. I'm going to pour a bit of it in, and then I'll stir it around and see what it looks like. I'm going to fold it in. As I said before, you can use double cream, and if you want to thicken it up, you can add a little bit of flour. Doesn't matter what flour, like as in like plain or self-raising. I have thickened this up before with just a little bit of, I think it was plain flour I had in the cupboard, and I think it gave quite a nice texture at the end. It felt more like traditional pie. What did you think, Atch? When it's a bit thicker and less runny, or do you prefer it more runny?
I prefer it a bit thicker.
Yeah, same. It's looking good. I am actually just gonna add more cream, just because I'm gonna chuck this away after. And then I am gonna add a little bit of flour. Whilst we're here, I think some more black pepper is due. And if anyone's worried that the chicken's not cooked all the way through, it is gonna go into the oven straight away after this. So we don't need to worry about that. Got a bit of flour here. I'm just gonna add a little bit on here, just to thicken up what we've got, make it more like a pie. Obviously my pan's not huge, so I can't be too vigorous with stirring. This is one of my favourite meals to make. I absolutely love it, and it's quite quick as well. How are you feeling about the consistency, Presidente? You reckon a little bit more flour?
You got to remember that's going to go in the oven, so probably thicken up a bit in there, won't it? Or not?
Not so much. I'm going to add a little bit more flour and see what that feels like.
But I just noticed that apron is my grand's.
Yeah, she gave it to me.
Hilarious. Aussie animals.
No, I think either your Iya gave it to me or my Iya did.
I think I remember my Iya having a similar one, so.
Oh, okay, maybe your Iya gave it to us then when we moved to our first flat. I guess what most people would do around about now would be like a taste test to see if you can taste like the mustard coming through. I won't taste test any of the meat bits, but I'll just see. There we go, bit of sauce. It's good. That tastes fine to me. Tastes exactly what it should taste like. Pour this into that kind of more like fell in rather than was poured in because it's very heavy. In my opinion, I think I probably could have made this a little bit more thick, as I showed you before with the thickening up with the flour, but you know, still be fine like this. Then what we do is the final step. Oh, forgot to tell you to preheat the oven. Preheat your oven at the start of all of this. Do, do, do. That's the sound our oven makes. Do, do, do. And I'm gonna do this at 180, and Ash is gonna keep an eye on it for about 30 minutes. Right, and then I've never used this brand before, but we unroll the pastry. This is Cheats pastry. You do not have to make the pastry yourself. And I simply place it on top like this. Pow! Oh. Okay, and we're on. And then what you can either cut the pastry off where it overlaps, or you can just do a little fold like that, little fold here. And then what I do is I get a little fork and I just do some of these. And I just press it down. Now, this pie is not about presentation, but I promise you it tastes so good. And also when it comes out the oven, it does look quite good. And then what I do is I just tend to put our initials in here. A plus L. Just because you're meant to make dots in it anyway, so I thought I may as well make it our initials. Right, and then that's kind of it. My oven's now heated up, so I'm just gonna place that in. Top shelf, 30 minutes. Cook time, 180 degrees. So I'll show you this after.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Okay guys, so it's ready. I must admit, the last time I made this, I do think it looked a little bit better. Do you know what? I've just done a little boo-boo. I've just cut a tiny piece instead of a bigger one.
That's yours then.
Oh no, in that case, I'm gonna do so much more. So this is what we're dealing with. This is the inside. I think it looks good. It's a little bit more runny than usual. As I said when I was making it, just if you want it thicker, just add a bit more flour and it will do it. I'm definitely gonna be going in for seconds, I know myself. And I'm really pleased with that. I will leave the method to this in the description, and I'll leave measurements for people that like to measure. But I'm all about the guesstimation, I am. Nothing is calculated or measured in my life, in case you haven't already guessed. There we go guys. I hope you have a nice evening. Thanks for watching this episode of Vlogmas. Speak to you all soon, lots of love. Bye. I want a snowfall kind of love that lights up the sky